In this video, we're going to cover how to set up a course, how to configure it, what the different settings are, and just what it looks like as you are building it out. So as we get started, you're going to want to decide where you want the course to be. All courses have to live on a site of some sort, whether you're going to put that here in the marketing main website, or if you do it underneath the content tab in sites. Now, these sites are going to be different things such as your private communities, courses, content sites, or just other public sites that are not necessarily going to mean the main website. This can be where you can put in your courses and have them a little bit closed off, and you're going to be able to control access a little bit more. So once we decide where we want to have our course, we're going to have a couple different options in creating it. You can always do it here in the content tab underneath courses. If you have not built out a course already, you'll have a big button that says create a course. Otherwise, you have this create a new course here. So once you select that option to create a course, you're going to have the choice of picking from your existing sites or creating a new site. So you got to decide where you want it to be. You can always put in multiple different courses inside of a single site, or if you want it to have its own unique site, you can do that as well. So for the sake of this video, we're actually going to do it on our existing community site. So right here, we are going to be on our site dashboard. So once we get here, we're going to go into our courses tab. And here we're going to have that blue button that says create new course. So we're going to decide to create our new course. As we get going, you're going to have your title, and then you're going to have your internal name and your labels. Now, when you have your title here, you're going to be able to decide what is your course about. Make the best potatoes. As you can see, this title is kind of matching here with the internal name. The internal name is going to be your own note to yourself. Whether or not you have the same course in multiple places, or maybe you have multiple versions of it, or maybe you want to kind of just change the wording when you are granting access to things. This is going to be great later on when you are trying to grant access through different avenues. And so maybe this one is for VIPs. Then you also have your labels. So this can also be a really great way in terms of organizing things so that you can see things with the same label. Then we have our course card. Now that's going to be the image that's going to show on your course page as well as in the course directory, which we'll cover those once we get our course all set up. So we'll click in here and we have our option between picking a media library image, picking a stock photo, and uploading from our computer. So once we go here, we're going to do making here potatoes. So we are just going to, let's do this one. This one looks fun. Once we select our image, then we also have our course description. So this is going to end up showing in that sidebar, but it's also going to kind of show in your course catalog when you're giving information to your members so that they can kind of see what is your course about. Then you also have your course directory. So this is going to be in terms of if you have a directory page which shows everything, you're going to have the option of kind of giving a quick summary. Then we have our published state. So this is where it can be really important in terms of how you want to grant access. If you have it in draft, that means that it is not available to anyone. It is only available to you. If you have it in published, it is available to anybody who has access to this site. So if your site is public and your course is public or published, then it is going to be available to anybody who goes there. So there's a couple different levels in terms of granting access. Now, if you want this course to not be available unless you give access somehow, whether a product, a list, an automation, a trigger, or you manually give them access, I would recommend having it set to dripped. Dripped is telling you that you have control and you get to decide how they're getting access. And then schedule is going to be when is the date that it is going to become published. So once it becomes published, it's going to be available. It's going to be public to anybody who is on that site. Next, we have how you want your lessons to be presented. So do you want them to show your lesson author? This can be beneficial if you have multiple admins. Do you want to show when it's been updated? This can be also beneficial if you're adding various updates throughout the course of the course. And then also you can ignore modules and only show lessons. Next, we have our default card image for lessons. Now, when you have your lessons built out, they will typically pull from the media that's already in the lesson. Otherwise, you can have a default one here. So you can decide like, what do you want this to be? Again, you can have all those media options as well. And then you have the option of previews. So previews are going to be beneficial if you want people to kind of see what your course is about, but you don't want them to have access, kind of like a teaser. So if you don't want them to see anything at all, you would do none. If you want them to have the option to see previews, then you will be able to go in and select how you want to grant preview access. And then you also have the option of giving them a specific message if they don't have access, like, hey, you don't yet have access. Check out below. And then you can have your button label, get access now. And then your button link, which you can go ahead and go to your product. Next thing is our settings. So all of these settings that we're kind of customizing right now, they're going to be available once we create our page as well, or create our course as well. So you will be able to go back in and change these things. As you go in and you're updating things and you don't yet like how it's set up, you can always come back and change it. So you have the option to not allow participants to mark lessons as completed. If you want them to kind of show their progress, you can have that mark as completed option. There's also requiring a lesson to be completed before continuing to the next lesson. This is helpful if you want to make sure that they're going in a specific order and they're not able to kind of jump around, making sure that they complete and actually process your lesson and then they go forward. You can also disable the auto playing of the next lesson. This is going to be useful if you have videos as the main content of that lesson and you don't want it to just automatically go forward. Maybe you have quite a bit of text or information below that video, and so you want them to be able to have time to kind of go through things and then move forward. Users also have the option of leaving themselves notes inside of their course. So maybe they have little tidbits that they want to remember when they go back into the course. If you don't want to have the option for them to leave themselves notes, you can turn that off here. And then you also have the option to remove links for downloading any content inside of your course. If you want them to still be able to download things later, but maybe it's just the main content, you can turn this off. And then we can cover here shortly how you would be able to control if you want them to still be able to. Now, if you have any audio and things like that you want them to be able to consume your course as a podcast and be able to listen to it, you will have that option automatically available. But if you don't want them to do that, again, you can turn that off here. You can also control if you want them to be able to have comments. Comments are going to be on the lessons and whether or not you want all members to be able to comment or if you kind of want to be able to filter it out. So once we create our course here, now we can go back into that course settings and we're going to see all of those same settings again. So if we decide we don't like anything or we want to change it, maybe we decide we don't want this image and we want something different. So we could go to our stock photos, potatoes. We'll do landscape. And there we go. So we can change those things and you can always customize it later. And then if you are on one of our higher plans, you're going to have that option for a course certificate to send to folks once they have marked every single lesson in that course completed. And you can customize that a little bit as well in terms of having the text and adding your logo here. And then you can customize what you want in that email as well. So now we will go into our content tab. So here in our content tab, this is where you're going to really have the meat and potatoes of your course. You're going to be able to have your module. Module is going to have just a little bit of a description and you can have like a custom color if you would like. Again, you're going to have those same published dates in terms of draft, published, dripped, and scheduled. Again, if you want to limit the access inside of that module, which would be all of the content, all of the lessons inside of it, you can do that here on the module level, meaning they would have to have another way to get access, whether that is by day, meaning how many days after they got access to this course are they going to see this module, or you can also do manually through triggers, automations, emails, things like that. And then we're actually going to keep that as published for now. Click save. And now we can add our lesson. Now lessons, this is going to be really where you're going to have the information for your course, where you're going to be able to kind of tell them, what are we doing? You're going to have your title name here, and you're also going to be able to have that custom thumbnail. That custom thumbnail is going to be whether or not you want it to be the same as what you've already uploaded. If you don't want it to be that default image, maybe this one specifically, you want a different one. Let's do something. Let's do this. Maybe we want to have that one instead. And then we also have that publish date. So this is going to be, again, whether you want it draft, published, dripped, or scheduled. With the lessons, though, if you set it up as dripped, you have to have a trigger, an automation, or manually giving access. It doesn't have the option to drip by day, similar to the modules, so you would have to have something set up that way. And then you can also set a date. Like it says right here, this is really beneficial for like live calls when you're adding them in the lesson itself. And then this is that content we were just kind of touching on. So if you have a video here, you can choose that from your media library, or you can upload it. The same with having like your audio, a quiz, a worksheet, or other. Now this content is going to be at the top. It's going to be the main focus of your lesson, and then your text would be below. Now, if you want to have your text be the main focal point, you don't necessarily need to have content here. You could add content inside of your lesson or below it. So that's where this additional content is going to be beneficial. Now, if you have, let's get started. If you have your image here, it's going to be kind of constricted inside of your text box with your additional content. So this is where you can kind of add the option to download content if you've already restricted it at the course level. So you can add your attachments. Maybe we want this image and this image, and we're just going to select that. And now if you have it set so that it's not embedded and it's just on your additional content, they're automatically going to download it. Otherwise, if you want it to be visible right on the lesson, then they're going to be able to have it available as a part of the lesson, a part of the flow, and you're going to be able to decide how you want the download options. Inherit is going to make sure that it is keeping the same settings as your course. If your course does not allow downloads, it will not allow to download for this content. If your course does allow downloads, it would automatically allow downloads here. Now, if you want it to show, say you want them to download this one, and maybe we don't want them to download this one. So showing means they will have the option to download. Hide will mean they do not have the option to download. You can always add a worksheet if you've created one. And again, worksheets are going to be like a homework. It's going to be something for them to fill out. And then this is that preview option. So if they don't have access to your course level, what do you want them to see? Do you want them to see just the title of the lesson, or do you want them to see content in the lesson? If you have the lesson set as dripped, then we get another option of if someone has access to the course and not the lesson, do you want them to see the title? Do you want them to have a custom message, or nothing at all? You can also allow members to have multiple completions. So maybe you want them to be able to mark it complete multiple different times. Say they're consuming this course multiple different times. You can allow that. You can also set it so that if you have a video here on your content information, then the video is always going to be at 1x speed. Now, members can always go up faster. They can always select that their speed is going to be a little bit faster, but you can have it set on this lesson that once they come back to watch this video, it will always be set at 1x speed. Then we also have the option to start from the beginning. So if you always want them to come back to the lesson and restart that video right at the beginning and not be able to just start off wherever they left off, you can always start it here and allow them to kind of just restart it. The next option we have is our automation. Now this is kind of a newer thing that's been added to our lessons, which is having the option to kind of just start and stop automations based off of when somebody completes or uncompletes the lesson. So once they have the automation, say we have this attached, once they mark it as complete, they could start this automation. Once they mark it as incomplete, they would stop. You also have the option for triggers. Again, this is going to be based off of complete, viewed, or being marked as uncompleted. So maybe you want it as soon as they view this lesson, you want to add a tag, or you want to send an email or subscribe to a list or anything else. You can do that within that lesson as well. So once we have that built out, we kind of have it set up so you have your module, you have your lessons. We're going to be able to go on and look at your course. So this is where that module color is going to come in handy. It's going to show you exactly what, just going to kind of have like a color coded version, and then you're going to have your lessons below it. You can always search in your lessons. Maybe you have lots of them. You can also see how much you have completed. And then we also have the option of being able to be notified of any comments. This is going to be unique to each person. If a person does not have it set to notify them, they would not know. And then you're also able to search inside the course for different information. Now, once we have this all set up, you're happy with how it looks, we'll go in here, we'll kind of see what it looks like. Obviously, there's not a lot of content in it, but you're able to kind of see the feel of what your members are going to see. This is where those private notes are going to be held, where they're going to be able to leave themselves something, kind of tell themselves like, yes, I love this video or what have you. They also have the option to favorite, to like it. Maybe they want to tell you that it is a great course. And then also to add to a playlist. So maybe I want to make sure that I'm watching this later and I'll come back to it. With being an admin though, we also have that option to edit the lesson and manage the course. This is that download option I was discussing. And then as you can see here, we don't have it on this one. Now in terms of the manage our coursing, now we're going to go here into our access. With the access, this is going to be how you are going to be able to decide or see how somebody has access. How are they getting access to this course? This is really great in terms of troubleshooting and making sure that things are set up exactly how you want. As you can see, nobody has access to this course yet. And it's also letting us know like, hey, this site is private. So we can't even see this course until somebody gets access to the site, which then we can see how are people getting access to the site. Next, we have our analytics tab. So in our analytics tab, you're going to be able to kind of see exactly, okay, well, who has had the lesson complete, who has watched the lesson videos, and then how much of module 1 has been viewed. So you can kind of look by member, and then you can also look by lesson as well. So you can kind of see the analytics here. You can see that somebody has liked that and see how much it's been completed. Then we have is under their content. You can look at your lessons and you can kind of see exactly what the duration is, kind of like an overview of what everything is set up as. Now, once you're content with how everything is and you are ready to go, you just want to decide how you're going to grant access to the course. So back in this access site, as we can see, nobody has access to it yet, but we could go into one of the products right here and we could grant them access here. Once we have clicked save, and we go back here and refresh. Now we can see exactly what is granting access and how many people have access. So it's a lot of different things that you can kind of customize, you can look at, and you can just kind of play around with. If you have any additional questions, please feel free to reach out. We'd be happy to help you.